Hi everyone, Corey here. It's been like a half hour that I have been sitting here and contemplating recording this video and getting this um, message out for today. And as I was sitting here, I've been distracted, I've been doodling, I've been listening and contemplating whether or not to even record it and why record it and what's the point of this message and where does it come from. So I've been asking the divine and asking God to communicate through this message for me to give to you. And as I was sitting on that yellow chair putting my pants on this morning, and trust me, it's not that easy to get my pants on. uh, After having a spinal fusion surgery, and yes, it's been a few months, but still, things are just not always that simple. But as I'm sitting there, and I was contemplating my all of my Paint Me Beautiful series that I've done a copyright on, and that I didn't know what they would be when they would eventually come out, but they will be arriving um, by 2025 into something. Um, but God's God asked me to paint, God asked me to paint God beautiful. And how would I paint God beautiful? And as I'm sitting, I start chuckling. I'm like, well, how do I paint you beautiful? And God asked me to um, paint a face, like paint how I see God and what God has given me to visualize. And I asked back, well, wouldn't I just paint it like an abstract of light, of color, of movement? And what God said to me was, imagine, um, imagine when you see an absolutely beautiful person. Imagine when you see an absolutely beautiful person, when somebody just radiates beauty, and not just outside, but inside, and they just have this magnetism, this magnetic energy. And they just have that magnetic view to you. Like you can, everyone just stops and everyone looks and everyone wants to be around them and everyone wants to be around that. And that's exactly as God said to paint God, paint me, paint this image of beauty, of awe, of magnetism, paint the picture of magnetism. And and it made sense to me. It made sense to me. We can all look at a picture of color and an abstract view, and we'll all have a different perspective and a different view. The same way we all have a different perspective and a different view of what God may be, and if there is a God, and if God exists at all, and if God was a man, or if God is energy, or if God is just a light, or if God is a figment of our imagination. But there's something so powerful about the whole experience, is that when we go on the seek and the desire to discover and find out more, is that is kind of like the joke God plays, is that we're always, that either which way, we all find our way to something. We all find our way back to something. We find our way into something that captivates us, that draws us in. And so God is this magnetic energy, and it has this magnetic pull, and it resonates, it connects, it speaks to us. It speaks to us in such a way that allows us to be able to see. And so as myself and God are communicating this beautiful experience, and how I would see God and what God would look like for me. And I remember a dream that I had a few years ago. And in my dream, I seen into the eyes of God. And the moment I seen the eyes, I'm like, whoa, who is this? And I heard, to you, I am God. To you, I am your God. I am that image. I am that light. I am that face. I am that energy. And my first thought went to the old belief system that we were taught as kids. I mean, I'm someone who has been in dabbled into each and every religion, and I have absolutely nothing against religion at all. And I always believe we all have to find our place in our home, and I have a strong connection to angels and to the divine and to into God, and I have a curiosity into all things. Shh, Bella or Chloe, my friend's dog, doing a dance on the bed. And so I just, but I found myself in, knowing all of these experiences and hearing all of these stories that we've all been imprinted with, also the fear story that you cannot see into the eyes of God. And if you see into the eyes of God, then that's the end. Like, there is no seeing into the eyes of God. But if we could not see into the eyes of God, how do we ever truly ever see into the benevolence of ourselves? Into the possibilities of what we can create in this world and in this lifetime, about the power of purpose that we bring to this earth and who we are. So April, and the month of April, and I've recorded a lot of videos, it feels like, for April so far, but April is truly about what is April. April ties into desires and into the emotions of desire and into the actions of desire and what it is that we desire. And if we get so consumed in the desire that's just about I and what life is going to give to me and how it's going to provide for me, and it doesn't matter about anything else, we bring in our level of darkness. But when you see the magnetism of something in somebody so beautiful that it's captivating, that when you can see the true essence of what desire is really about and what love is all about, and what this Aries energy is all about, is that it really does challenge us. And it challenges us on such a level to take the deep dive into self, to see the good, bad, and the ugly, to see the possibility that we all have all things, but there is a magnetism to us, there is a beauty to us, there is an awe to us. There's something so powerful and so incredible that exists within us. And but we all, like, or not we all, but as a general rule, society has such a construct materialistic view on this beauty, or the need to be right, or that substances that substance I can't even say the word, that we hold on to in our physical world, and what we have been conditioned and taught uh, about getting ahead, about achievement, about success, about getting to that place of honesty and trust. And so as I sit with this painting that I'm now working with and that I'm creating, I didn't know if it was something I was supposed to keep into my heart and supposed to keep sacred and secret. And I just keep hearing, no, share as you go, share as you go. And as I look back at that chair, I just know what that chair represents, and sitting on that chair, and in that moment of when frustration could come in, instead of frustration came the beauty, the essence of God, and that ability to be able to communicate to God. And people always ask me, what is God to me? And I'm like, it doesn't matter what God is to me, it's what God is to you that matters to you. Whatever God is to me does not matter to you. What God is to you matters to you. And if you search for God, through my image or my magnetic connection to God, you're always going to be searching for what it is that I see. And that causes such frustration. So the desire to see what I see will always lead you seeking to find something that represents what I see. But that is no different than, that would lead you to no different than trying to, you know, find your way in this world, but emulating and trying to be somebody else. And our whole world is so full of this emulation of of mimicking and matching this energy, or this doing the same thing over and over because it works for one. But my vision, my view, how I see it, it's so mine. It's not different from some people's, but it's mine. And when we see a beautiful person and we walk away, each one of us are going to describe that beautiful person differently. If you're asked to paint it out, you're going to paint it out differently because we're not looking at the same thing. We're not even sure sometimes on what it is that we're seeing. Excuse me. That we see that creates that beauty, that creates that desire, that reveals something to us that we can't pinpoint it, right? And so it's God energy is so hard to pinpoint and it's so hard to connect. But when we recognize that, in this April energy month, and because we're at a 12, we just came through the mastering number 11, because we're in the 12, we're on this other side of all of this energy that has been there. And we're on the other side of a lot of chatter and a lot of noise. And then we're on the other chatter, on the other side of really seeking and searching for, well, what does it all mean? And where does it go? And how this all started to come up for me was I struggled very much in this month so far. And I struggled with a lot of energy and I struggled with the darkness outside, not the sky darkness, but the brown, the lack of blood, the lack of green. There's no greenery here where I am in Alberta yet. Like everything is still yucky looking. It's dirty. It's hard to find God when it's hard to find light. It's hard to see beauty. It's hard to see the magnetism of even the Mother Earth energy when everything is so like this. So in this time, find myself disconnecting and not wanting to be a part of the outside. I want to be anywhere else, but in this lower energy of where I've been traveling through was that this connection to God was guiding me back to not being separate, not being separate from this face of God that I am about, that I am in the works of now painting. And so in that my relationship to this energy, that this voice that whispers, that speaks to me, is that somehow there is that magnetic pull has been coming from outside instead of inside again. That all that I envisioned or all that I see it, all that I see in this beautiful energy has been being distorted somehow. And so when we look at the distortion and when we look at desire, is that we can get our true intentions and our true desires can become so distorted when somebody else's like unmet needs or somebody else's thoughts or somebody else's view, somebody else's opinion, how somebody else sees it can so intercept and intertwine into our personal relationship and into our personal relationship with ourselves, with our relationship to the divine, to something that is so powerful. So as we're moving forward, what God was telling me was set that clear intention to only paint, to paint what you see, paint what you feel, get into that place, get into that space, and not to paint an abstract view because you are afraid to paint the image of me. Do not be afraid to paint the image of me. I asked of you to paint the image of you. And I did that for so long. And now he's saying, now whatever it is for you, paint the image of me, not an abstract view. I want you to paint the real image, what it means to you, what you see when you look into the magnetism, what you feel when you look into the magnetism, what beauty would look like for you, what living a beautiful life side by side with this highest realm, highest form of energy, the highest knowing that we know. And so when we look at that desire, is that the desire to also fulfill and to live our best life is also about how this purpose or this call also can be of service to helping a collective, to helping an all, to helping to be able to help everyone, or to be of service, and how to be of service. And if our desires is to fulfill for our shadow, for our pain stories, for our unmet needs, for feeding that hungry ghost energy that we have, then where are we actually looking, and what are we actually looking at? And that desire to chase down, to emulate, or to perfect, or to be better than, or whatever that may look like, that sense to how's he giving it to me, that sense of following, that sense, that imposter light, that we spend so long as an imposter to that self, and the desire to create the image that's going to make everyone else comfortable would ultimately lead me to being an imposter to myself, and I would be embodying that light, that imposter light, because I would be trying to create something that makes other people more content, don't stir up the hornet's nest, don't cause a ruckus, make sure I'm at peace, that everyone is at peace, or everyone is comfortable, because there's so many triggers around the word God, because of the upbringing, because of the old belief systems, because people have been so connected to the image that somebody else has painted of God, that they have not stepped into allowing themselves to paint their own image of God. Well, that is no different than the personality you live from, the identity, the ego that exists, the image that you have painted to present the world. Who's that image for? Who's that truth? Who has that been? Has that been for you? Has that been for others? Has that been for that? Is that because somebody else have told you that's who you are? And here's our opportunity. Here's our time. Here's our moment, that if we reconnect to the true desire that was the original desire as we arrived here, to exist in love, to exist in true, authentic light, is that what we begin to paint, we wouldn't paint, we wouldn't exist, we wouldn't speak from a place that is to just create the comforts for somebody else. Because your image, your magnetic pull, that magnetic energy, that inner godly energy that exists in you, that divinity, that divine, is what we're here to live from. We're here to live on purpose. We're here to live from that place of finding our way back home to the divine purpose, and to that sense of of seeing that true truth, that we all have this image, this magnetic energy, that if we were to paint it, create it, what would it begin to look like? What would it begin to look like for you? So when I created all that is of Paint Me Beautiful, and all that I've revealed little bits and pieces of Paint Me Beautiful, is that every image looked nothing like me, nothing like me. And some were not so pretty, some were mischievous, some were holy, some are not even a person, some are very character like, very odd, some are angelic looking. And every one of them tells a story. But there is this thread that brings it all together. And that thread that brings it all together is that sense of, we have all these perspectives, and we have all these narratives and these stories of who we are in somebody else's story, and the character that they create, and the language and words they use to describe or to explain us, or to love us or hate us, whatever it may be. But the original reason why most would want to be in our lives was some sort of connection, some sort of pull. But because we can't meet that, because we can't fully meet that expectation, or because there are expectations, we get farther and farther away from that sense of true truth, identity, because perspectives keep changing, and it changes our relationship with relationships, but it also changes our relationship with the divine. It changes our relationship with God. So the more we step into a love, hate, and a pull, and this magnetic energy, is that it can be pulling us positive, it can be pulling us negative. But when we can allow ourselves to recognize this key little element, this little piece, and if we can harness that negative energy, if we can pull that negative pull in, that negative force in, and we can hold it in a capsule, so contain that negative energy, if we can contain it and hold it in this capsule and keep it there, and not entrapping it, but keeping it there until it calms, till it simmers, till it takes a breath, till it's like, oh, okay. And then we say, now I'm going to release you. Now I'm going to release you. But when I release you, I'm not going to release you as what I have originally captured, my negative thought, my negative view, because what's been happening in this here is that you've been held in love. And as you've been wrapped in love, as we've wrapped that negative in love, it has softened. And it's only when we soften can we truly then allow this, what was the negative, to then blend in to be discernment and use in our positive, to bring about those changes, to acknowledge within ourselves that, okay, there is something here. There is something here that is useful. And so this is where we transmute that energy out to be an a jet fuel of action that we can take. So the action that I've been given was to paint this image. And as I paint this image, even I paint before I paint, as it speaks to me, as it communicates to me, I feel myself feeling mystified. I feel myself being deeply connected to something. I feel myself wanting to stand back up. And what I realized what it was doing was that this image, this magnetic pull, my vision, how I view it, was helping me to stand back up, to become strong again, to rise again, to come back in, and to rise back up, and to rise into my strength, into my true confidence, into my truth. And that no matter what view, what perspective, and this is the power of I am that sits in the Aries energy, that sense that it has this so-called selfishness that is there, but it's no matter what somebody says about it, this is what it is. And if somebody says to me, well, what is God to you? And if I get into their thoughts or making sure I'm making them comfortable and pleased, I would paint the abstract view. But the power of the I am, and just holding that conviction to, this is my right. This is right for me because this is what I see. This is what God is. This image that I'm painting, this image that is right here, that I haven't got fully out for you, but this image right here is what God is. This is my God. This is my God. And when I can hold that this is my God, then I can also hold that this is me. This is just me. I don't need to become a circus act. I don't need to act up and act out. I don't need to create a character for another story. I don't have to play in somebody else's story. I don't have to pretend something is not true just to stay safe. I don't have to act in that energy. I can simply stand tall and also be very, very aware of the messy, messy, messy energy that came with that journey of painting me beautiful and getting to that place. Because when you deny that God that is for you, when you deny that possibility that, what if you are the God, right? What if there is something there that just speaks to you? And when you can lock into that, you find that sense of purpose. Why are you doing that? I don't know. Well, that's stupid. Well, it's not stupid to me. This is my journey. This is my call. This is what I'm here to do. This is where I am. I love this, and this is what I'm here to do. And no matter how much somebody else tries to take us from that place, we have a magnetic pull. We have it locked in. We are connected to it. And it's because we have learned to use the harnessing of the positive and the negative to recognize the difference between an unhealthy desire and a true divine desire, because we're simply answering a call, answering a knowing. And we don't have to let our feet don't have to leave earth. We don't have to search outside of ourselves. It is within us. It is something that is here, that is with us. It exists in us. It belongs with us. It is a part. So my image, and when I hold that image of God, when I fully embody and paint that image of God, I will not be thinking about what somebody else believes God to be. I will not be thinking of that God is this almighty powerful creature who's going to destroy me if I don't see it the way that a religion sees it, or somebody else sees it, or the way that somebody in spirituality sees it, or because somebody else was offended by it, or somebody else was upset about it. That's how we lose ourselves. That's how we lose ourselves. We lose ourselves because if somebody else don't like something about us, or somebody else got a better way of presenting us, or somebody else got a better way to do this, or someone else's thoughts matter more than what our intuition is telling us, that we lose that aspect of ourselves, that we have a desire to please, to make others happy, to make sure everyone is comfortable, to accommodate, to be popular, to be liked, to be loved, to be all of those things. But we were never not any of that. And all that unhealthy desire that we chase to be that level of success, has really created opportunists and not opportunities, right? And so the opportunist is never, ever satisfied, can never find that sense of satisfaction. So we're always in the emotions that make us, that are always making us hungry for more. But we're not starving. We're starving ourselves out, but we're not starving of the most powerful ingredients that we need, that feed us on the inside. Is our world starving? Are there people starving? Absolutely there are. Is there things that we need to do and places we need to be and help and be of service? Yes, yes. But when we're so busy arguing, fighting with ourselves, with others, when we're so busy caught in those desires, how do we get there? How can we get there? How do we get to that place? And that place has to begin with us. As I know this journey that I've taken with God, and my first image of God in the way that I seen God in the eyes of God, making me laugh because I know how far back it went. I know exactly that dream. I know exactly the year. I know exactly the time. And it was so much in the beginning of More Than Existing. It was the beginning of so many things for me, of the actual creation of More Than Existing. And I just find myself sitting with this image today and sitting with this truth. And truth, when we find truth, truth is absolute. There's an absolute truth. And that absolute truth is really locked within us. And there only one real truth is beyond all the veils of illusions, beyond all the veils, that hold us back. There's this absolute truth. And that absolute truth tells us and speaks to us that we were simply just imperfectly perfect, and we were good enough. We were more than enough. We were that love. We were that light. We were that divine. We were that beautiful being. We were that original self. There was an original version of ourselves that we lost in translation to become something for everyone and everything else, including our own ego. And the more that we created the persona, the personality to go with that, the persona to go with that, the more we had to live up to, and the more we had to chase, and the more we start to see our imperfections, the more we start to see, I deserve this, I have to get this, I'm worth this, I'm worth that, and I'm going to get that, and I'm going to prove to them, and I'm going to show them. And I just, it can be such an exhausting journey when it can actually be such a beautiful journey, and such a magnetic journey inward will help us to be able to see. Because when you walk away from that magnetic energy, when you move or that person moves out of your way, you're always still thinking about it. And so we've always still been thinking about, contemplating if it's real, what's real. And it's always left us curious, the curiosity. And it's curiosity killed the cat, right? And this curious energy that we have, that we just want to find out more. We want to see more because we just can't simply accept our own truth. Because when it's put into doubt, when it's questioned, we doubt and we question ourselves. We become such an imposter to ourselves. We become such an imposter to our truth, to our happiness, to our lives, to the things that matter the most to us, and we lose something of ourselves. Well, this energy, this desire is here now to help us to bring back, to get back into this, to realign back into this truth, and and to recognize how much of the imposter light has really truly done a lot of destruction and a lot of damage to the most beautiful of energies, the most beautiful of people, the most beautiful magnetic energy. And it's really been a pull, and it has divided us farther. And as long as we are always in that fight of having to all have the same image, all have the same view, all have the same perspective, and we're so determined that someone else see what we see, accept what we accept, believe what we believe, then we're always going to be chasing something down. It's that conformity. And we're not here to conform, we're here to create, we're here to live in this liberation and freedom within ourselves. And so my image and what my image looks like makes me chuckle, and kind of like a bit of a supermodel-y old man kind of look, and a lot of gray. Actually, when I see God, I don't see a lot of color. I actually see a lot of gray. And it's that gray area of life that gives us the opportunity that we walk a fine line in our choices. And it's our desires, it's our thoughts, it's our mind's ability to be able to create an image, a story, to get to a memory, to get to an emotion, to activate an emotion that leads us down that path of then creating the color, to create that vision, and to bring that color in to create what we believe, what we think. We have so many opinions, and we have so much that is there. But when we step back into the angelic realm, we step back into the divine, the holy, they don't tell us what to do. They don't tell us what to do. They trust us. They trust us. And maybe we don't deserve to be trusted because, there's a lot of things we have not done right. But each time they return that sense of trust to us, they entrust us, they trust us with all that is divine, in hopes that we will make that righteous choice, that we will make those right choices, that we will, when in doubt, go right, that we will recognize that our right hand, the right to be on the right hand of, to be on the right hand side of God, is to be on the side of giving, to be able to know that giving includes giving to ourselves as much as, so that we're healthy and whole to give to others. Because when we're so busy in exhaustion, wore out, chasing something, we're not in the right alignment to be able to give back. So there's just so much of this that is speaking to me and speaking through me. And I look forward to sharing even more again as I communicate with this, um, with this story and with this beautiful journey that is speaking to me. And as I'm looking around my walls, you can't see as many of my paintings now as you used to be able to see, but there is paintings all around me here. And one of my paintings that I most recently painted, there's such perspectives to it. And every time someone looks at it, they see something different. There's something different to be seen. Well, that's no different than our God. That's no different than ourselves. No one's going to see you the same. You're not even going to see you the same. But there is something there. There's a seed there. And in that gray area, in that places of choices that we get the choice to choose to, exist in our heaven or exist in our hell. And we can spend a lifetime painting hell and creating it into something beautiful and trying to make it beautiful. Or we can allow ourselves to allow our heaven to be created through us and for us, and that we don't have to work hard for it. We just got to connect to that magnetic energy. And so there's a magnetic pull. There is a polarity of energy that is there. And this magnetic pull it's nothing fancy. It's not frilled up, but it's beautiful. And it's just pulling us. It's pulling at our heartstrings. It's pulling at us to rise up, to rise out of the illusions and the imposter energy, and to step into recognizing the power of true light. It's just like sitting inside in false light, in these ring lights, in um, fluorescent lights, and we go, oh God, like my color don't look good. I don't look good in here. I don't look right in here. Nothing will look right until you step out into the sunlight, and that is a full spectrum. And because it has the full true spectrum, the true spectrum of light, sorry, my dogs, that's a true spectrum of light. And that has all of the rays of light. Just like when we go beyond all of the rays of light, we recognize it, that we just be able to contain and come back in. And there is a perfection in that light. And there is power in that light. And it's not something we can get too close to. You can't get that close to the sun. It will burn you. It is a fire. But we can exist in its power, in its light, in its love, in its divine energy. And we all have, Aries has a burning fire. It is here to light our way. It is here to ignite our passion. It's here to ignite our true desires. It's here to be that sense of the war energy that's tied to it, is for us to be able to recognize that sense of battle that we exist in, and how we live separate from and not one with. And we are here to come back into the oneness, and to that oneness with that self, and that we don't have to create the image that is here to make others content or happy. We just have to recognize the power of our magnetism, and how the power of our magnetism can be the thing that changes our lives, and it can be the things that inspires another's life, and another to live their most beautiful life, or another to restore their sense of hope, their sense of faith, so that they too can get into that truth within themselves. I send you so much love. Thank you for being here with me. Thank you for always being here with me. If you like these videos, please subscribe. If it doesn't align with you, please don't unfollow because you just don't like something that I'm saying. Ask yourself what it is. Ask yourself what that is triggering and why you are so offended by it, why it's bothering you so much that there is this other language that's being spoken. And you can neutralize those words. You can change that narrative, that story, change one word into another word. If it's God, make God Jane if you need to, or Bob, or whatever it is. And ask yourself, why is Bob such a problem for me? Why am I so offended by Bob? Why is, who really taught me how to be offended by Bob? Who really taught me these stories and conditioned me to this? And what do I know to be true? What do I know to be true? What do I know to be true? Is like, so they told me that, I can't see into the eyes of God. I know that to not be true. That's a bullshit story. So if I know that to be true, why am I still so upset about a story and about their beliefs or about somebody else's beliefs? Why is that still bothering me? And why do I still feel the need that I need to go prove, you know, to prove them wrong, or to prove them as crazy, or whatever it may be? Why can't I just prove to myself? Why can't I just find this peace within myself? And that peace really truly comes when we can release the stories and the energies of the past. Much love. Talk soon. Bye bye.